A Canadian former actor, Marianna is one of the most watched TEDx women speaker in the history, and she has come all the way from Malaysia to share her expertise with us. And she will be speaking to us on the topic called the audience journey. So let's give it up for our very first keynote speaker of PSS 2024, Marianna Pascal, everyone.
Wow. Good morning. I don't know about you, but isn't it the most enthusiastic, wonderful, warm feeling already here? I mean, it can almost bring me to tears because it's such a beautiful, wonderful feeling. Thank you for having me here. Can we put my deck? Thank you very much. You know, the one thing that binds us all here is that we all have something to say. We all have some message that's unique to us that we want the world to hear, that we want to share with other people. And that's what we're going to start with today. We're all going to learn so much over these 2 days. But let's start with that message that's in your heart that you want to deliver. Because at the end of the day, what we all want to do, tell me if I'm correct, we want to take an audience, they come in one state of mind, we take them on a journey, and they leave at the end of our keynote transformed. Isn't that what we'd all like? So I ask you, think of that one talk that you are most passionate about delivering this year. Just get it in your head. Think about who that audience is that needs to hear this message. And what is it that's so important to you about that message? Just keep it in your heart and let's see how we can actually apply this little talk. You know, people say to me all the time, how did you get to be one of the 10 most watched women, right? How do you get that many people to sit through 15 minutes of a talk and maybe share it? And I say, I think it just boils down to a good audience journey. Now, I coach speakers. That's a big part of my work. I coach professional speakers, and I coach executives. And I find myself always saying over and over again, let's go back to your audience journey. Let's go back to your audience journey. And that's why I created this talk. But I think the best way for me to share what the audience journey is with you is not to tell you what it is, but to share how I learned it. You see, I didn't learn this in corporate. Corporate is where I deliver it most of the time. But where I learned this so organically was many, many, many years before in my first career as a professional actor in Canada, spending 20 years watching how directors transform people in the theater. So let me take you back to a very, very early theater experience. I was in a play called St. Joan. Now, I'm not going to go into details of the story. St. Joan is a true story based on the life of Joan of Arc, and I play a 19-year-old Joan who disguises myself as a man so that I can lead the French army to war against the British. I'm caught. I'm in jail. I'm on trial. And I understand that they are going to burn me alive at the stake. Not a great way to go. I then hear that they're going to be lenient and kind to me. And I'm very, very happy about this because I think a life of freedom is a little bit better than being burned alive at the stake. Anybody agree with me there? Yes? Okay, good. Suddenly, the sentence is read out to me. And they tell me that they're going to be kind to me. They're not going to burn me alive at the stake. Instead, I'm going to be imprisoned forever. I'm 19 years old, and I'm going to be in a French dungeon till the day I die. Now, my lines in the play were this. I had to say to the jury, perpetual imprisonment, am I not then to be set free? Light your fire. And then I have this long monologue where basically I'm saying, do you call this being kind? Being put in a dungeon for my life, never seeing the sky, never being allowed out, never smelling the flowers again? This is terrible. And I delivered it like that. The director calls me over. He says, Marianna, I want you to play the scene a little bit differently. When you hear the sentence, you say, perpetual imprisonment, am I not then to be set free? You see, no, you are not to be set free. You realize this. You don't try to change anybody's mind. You just calmly say, light your fire. And you deliver the monologue like that. And I said to the director, but isn't that a bit boring? Isn't it more exciting if I create some drama and I'm trying to change the jury's mind? And he said to me, and I'm going to ask you the question that he asked me. He said, Marianna, think of the audience. They are mostly the age of the parents of Joan. Which is a more compelling journey for this audience? To watch a 19-year-old girl try to change the minds of the authorities? Or to watch a girl that is the same age as their daughter ask to be burned alive, and then to see how does she do that? So I'd like to ask you, which do you think would be a more compelling journey for that audience? One or two? Show me with your fingers. So clearly we can see it, and he was right. The audience was silent as they watched. But the question that drove me crazy back then was, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I know that? And the answer is simple. It's because I was too immersed in my own role. I was too immersed in my content, my words, my character. But the director reports to the audience. That's me, by the way, playing the role. The director has one responsibility: to create a beautiful journey for the audience. That's all the director cares about. And that's why the director can make the right choices. And think about this, my friends, because this is very much like in our work. When we are crafting a keynote, there are 3 roles that we play. Think about yourself. The first role is the content creator, the playwright. This is the person that writes the words on the page, that chooses the slides, that decides what data you're going to use, what content you're going to use, what you're going to leave out. That's the writer, the content creator. The second role that we play is the actor or the speaker, and that's the person that decides, how am I going to say these words? Am I going to deliver it with a sense of urgency? Where am I going to stop and pause and wait for the penny to drop in the audience's heads? What's the tone? What's the flavor I want to give this? That's the actor, the speaker. And finally is the director. Now notice, whenever we see directors, even though the scene is right there in front of them, they don't look at the scene. They look through the camera at the scene. And why do they do that? Because they are only interested in the audience's experience. What is this journey that the audience is experiencing? So think about the last talk that you prepared. Which role did you spend the most amount of time in? Please stand up if you would answer A. Just stand up if you spent most of your time as the writer, the content creator. Stand up. Come on, don't be shy. Stand up. Okay, thank you. Look around and see how many. Stand up if you spent most of your time as the actor, the speaker, deciding how to say the words. Stand up. Whoa, suddenly almost more than 50%. Thank you, sit down. Stand up if you spent most of your time as the director. Okay, great. We have quite a few. Thank you. Have a seat. Now, I'm not going to ask the next question because we know the answer, but the place we spend the least amount of time is as the director. Now, what happens if we let the director be the boss? When I was in the theater, the director is the one you bow down to. The director is the one who knows the answers because the director is the one in charge of that final product. So let's be directors for a minute. Would you like to play that role? Yes. Okay. Put on your director's hat, my friend. Now let's imagine you have a movie. You've shot most of it, but you're still not quite sure how you want to end the movie. I'm going to play the movie for you, and I ask you to think like a director. Imagine that the audience is all of India. This movie is going to be seen by Indians all over the country. How are you going to end the movie? Here we go. Watch carefully. Make sure we have sound, please.
Shkoftat. Edhe mos e përsërit më, qetësi. Hyr! Prap me vones. Shkoftat. Hyr!
Your audience is India. I'm going to give you 3 endings. Choose which one you choose. There's no right and wrong. First ending. The boy is walking the mother. The teacher walks by. The teacher doesn't see the boy and the mother. Cut. Next day at school, the boy knocks on the door, walks in, puts out his hand. Teacher looks at the boy, whacks the boy, cut. Where have you taken the audience? At the end now, as the audience leaves, what are they thinking? What are they feeling about the boy? What are they feeling about the teacher, about the world that we live in? Ending number 2. Audience sees the boy walking the mother. Teacher walks by. Teacher sees the boy and the mother. Teacher stops. We see the teacher looking at the boy and the mother. Cut. Next day at school, boy knocks on the door. Boy walks in. Boy puts out his hand. Teacher looks at the boy. Teacher picks up the ruler, whacks the boy. Cut. Now, where have you taken the audience? As they leave the cinema, what are they feeling about that boy? What are they feeling about the teacher, about institutions, about the world that we live in? And how is that going to affect their behavior going forward? Ending number 3. The audience sees the boy and the mother. Teacher comes out, teacher turns, teacher sees the boy and the mother. We see teacher looking at the boy and the mother. We cut. Next day at school, boy knocks on the door, boy walks in, boy puts out his hand. Teacher looks at the boy. Teacher leans down and hugs the boy. Cut. Where have you taken the audience? As they leave the cinema, what are they feeling about the boy, about the mother, about the teacher, about the world that we live in, and how will that impact their behavior? Now, there's no right and wrong here. They're all different journeys. But let's see with a show of hands. Raise your hand if you chose ending number A. Okay, great. We've got 2. Thank you. Raise your hand if you choose ending B. Okay, a few more. Raise your hand if you choose ending C. Whoa, okay, great. I want to speak to someone who chose ending A, and in just 30 seconds, please share with me your speakers, so I emphasize the word 30 seconds. Why did you choose ending A?
I think if I would make this movie, I would want all of the audience to take away that message that many times you would not be able to walk by that boy and get the reality. So we need little more than evidence to be able to empathize if something wrong is happening.
Okay, thank you very much. So that key message is, this is reality. We don't know what we don't know. Reality sucks sometimes. Is that correct? Okay, thank you very much. Give him a hand. Give him a hand, okay? Can I speak to someone who chose ending B? I'm going to talk to a lady this time in 30 seconds. Teacher sees the boy and beats him. Why?
The teacher is in a position where he needs to set an example for other students also. So he's having to take that decision to still whack the boy. And the systems, that's how processes and systems run. Sometimes they're unfair, but we have to keep the larger picture in view.
Okay, very different message, right? Sometimes life is unfair, but we must accept that, right? Thank you very much. Give her a big hand. Different ending. Can I speak to someone who chose ending number C? In 30 seconds, please tell us why.
If it was my child, I would like my child to be taught by a human and not by a machine which runs on processes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So cherish the human element in the world. Now, interestingly, these are all entirely different journeys. Do you think that all of these 3 different journeys will have a positive impact on the audience as they leave. In other words, it teaches them something that will make them a better person. They all have different angles of that, don't they? One is, look, life is unfair. Reality sucks, so let's be kind. Another one is, look, rules aren't always fair. We must think long term. And another one is, let's remember the human factor is so important. Let's all bring that out in our lives. Now, every one of us knew exactly where we wanted the audience to be at the end. The audience in all of your stories had a state at the end, a state of acceptance and carry on, a state of life is unfair, but this is the way it is, a state of let's be human. There's some emotional state that the audience must be in order for them to act or behave the way you want them to. And you have to know what is the state you want your audience to be in at the end of the keynote. So think about your keynote. Have you decided exactly how you want them to feel and believe and think as you end your keynote? You have to start there. They also each had a big idea, no wrong or no right, but each one of them had an entirely different, singular, big idea. For your keynote, have you identified that single big idea that the audience is going to take away? These are the two ingredients that must happen before you start to craft and plan what content you're going to use. Now, there's one more element that I want to look at. Before COVID, I was invited by an organization in the Middle East to give a speech on, of all subjects, euthanasia, medically assisted suicide. Now, this organization was becoming more global in its mindset. They needed their leaders to have more understanding of the way people live in the rest of the world because they were a very insular environment with very fixed ideas. He didn't want to change their thinking. He just wanted them to understand more about different types of global thinking. And he invited me because my mother died by medically assisted suicide, euthanasia. Now, he said to me, when you come in, I just want you to talk about euthanasia. Give them some facts, some details, some information about which countries are using it. Now, let me ask you something. If I went in to an audience that was primarily 30 to 50-year-old Arabic men, and I started talking about euthanasia, something that goes against their religion, would they be leaning in, saying, tell me more? Or would they be resisting, arguing me in their head, A or B? So I knew I couldn't go in and talk about euthanasia. I had to think, how do I get to these people? How do I start with them? And I remembered one thing about Arabs. They love their mothers. They are crazy about their mothers. They revere their mothers. I know this because I rented rooms out in my house to Arabic university students. And one day I cut my finger in the kitchen, and Marwan, one of the students, said to me, oh, and I said, say something, Marwan. I hurt my finger. He said, what I say? I said, well, show me some compassion. Imagine your mother cut her finger when she was cooking. No, my mother, no, very good cook. So I said, okay, Marwan, well, what if your sister cut her finger while cooking? No. My sister, very good cook. So I know that Arabs, they just really revere their mothers. So I went in and I started to talk to them about their mothers. They didn't know why I was there. I talked to them about their mothers. And when I got them in that journey, thinking and feeling how much they respected their mother, I said to them, may I talk about my mother? She's very much like your mother. And they said, yes. I said, my mother was a lot like yours. She was also the pillar of the community and the family. until that day that she got pancreatic cancer. And then she lost a little bit of control over her role in the family. She had to go to chemotherapy, and she was tired a lot, and we stopped going to her for answers, and she lost control of her role in the family. And then she got more and more tired with chemotherapy, and she couldn't go out anymore and see friends, so she lost control of her social life. And then she was in bed a lot. She got really, really tired, and she didn't want to get out of bed, and she got very thin, and she lost control over her appearance and her dignity. And finally, she just couldn't do anything, and she lost control over every part of her life. And then one day, she decided to set the date. And when she set that date, she gained back an iota of control. And then she decided who she wanted to see and in what order she wanted to see them. And she called everybody in one by one, including me, and she gained back a little bit more control over her life. And then the day before she died, she had somebody who had gone and bought her a gown, and she had, the day before, the manicurist came over and did her nails and her toes, and she had a hairstylist come and do her hair very nicely. And on that day, when the doctors came over, that final day, and she sat on her bed in the gown with her hair done and her nails done, and when the doctor said, "Do you need more time?" my mother said, "No, I'm ready." And my mother, when she died again a woman in control. Now, when I'm telling these Arabic guys that story, and all I want them to do is to have more understanding of how people live, do you think I need a lot of data? Do I need a lot of information and facts? No, I got in there the right way so that I could take them on the right journey for them to get them to the state I wanted at the end. So the third thing is that start state. Who is that audience? Because you must start in their world, not where you're taking them. Only when you have done those three things, the end state, the big idea, and the start state, can you begin to map that journey, plan your keynote. Every single communication is an audience journey. Consider it and come talk to me if you want about your talk. Before I end, would you like to see how your movie ended? I'll end with this, my friends. It's always about the audience journey. Thank you.
Thank you.
Too good, Marianna, too good. You made us cry.
It is definitely about the journey. I'm still with the movie because it instilled that emotional connections, and it's always about bringing that connection.